Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Let me get this going here. So great stuff, guys. Whoops, sorry. I don't know why it doesn't want to copy and paste. I'm having some technical difficulties. Stuff is not loading on time and it's not copying or pasting. So bear with me here. Hello?
Yeah.
So, yeah, my sound cut off for a second. I
Oh,
heard a pop. Hold on a second.
can everyone hear Alex? Let us know. Okay, yeah. You're coming through.
All right, that's good. So I just want to go over the homework and your guys' progress, really. This is looking better. Uh, the change to the ground plane and adjusting, I guess, adjusting the texture and simplifying the light. That's good. Um, I would probably really think about how this figure here is sitting in space by blocking it out graphically. Let's see if I could do this right on top of yours. Boom. Just to be quick and efficient. So this is your silhouette. Maybe I'd also try to go back in there and chisel away a little bit, just to design it. I think they're just to be a little nitpicky on how it looks. Maybe you could define um, define this a little bit. But what I really wanted to say here is figuring out the planes. And it's very simple. It's not really high amounts of rendering, so it's basically how the light is hitting the forms. Where the hell do I? Fuck it. I'm just gonna put it here. Oh yeah. Never mind. Sorry, guys. Also, if you work, what's going on? Why is this bouncing up and down? What the fuck? If you work with a silhouette separately, if you've established your environment and you have your character as a silhouette like this, right? You can move it around. You can play around with composition, uh, or the blocking of multiple characters, even. Um, and in that case, you can even can frame them uh, against these type of elements. But in this case, just to show you what I mean, I think toning down toning down these edges, simplifying it, and really having it be more subtle. I think it's more about thinking about the how the planes are being hit, and also the texture, this the surface texture, like that type of cloth. Maybe the bag would have, if it's a leather bag, but this wouldn't pick up that amount of light. I think it's just too bright, simply put. Um, but also, you can maybe move the character around. You can also prioritize how the light, um, what the brightest part would be if it's top-down light, right? So I don't know why it always switches back to that. But trying to see if I can maybe put in elements I can follow. just a simple indication, something graphic. So what I'm thinking about when I'm adding these type of shapes in here in brushstrokes is in an area like this, I kind of, as cool as it is to sort of leave it blank, maybe. Um, I don't want too much dead space. I kind of want to continue this world through, right? So I know the character was there, but I'm moving it. Uh, I'm just continuing to add uh, something that'll feel like this doesn't just fall off into darkness. I mean, there are appropriate times to do that, but really, that depends on how good the graphic composition uh, is working for you, how well it's working for you. That is, I think this is it could it is on a good track. Um, it's I guess more about figuring out how it's sitting in this space. Um, something to also consider is you have um, you have a very wide looking frame, and I guess we could do whatever we want. But if you'd like to really sell the the feeling of a long lens, it's probably good to follow that aspect ratio. Um, And when you look at reference photos, it really isn't the it really isn't that type of width. It's a lot narrower. It, the lens doesn't allow for that scope, that cinema panoramic, Hateful Eight looking. However, that's kind of cool. I mean, this could essentially feel like it is a cropped uh, piece, but I almost want to see maybe more.
So I had a quick question about that actually.
Yeah, what's up?
So if you were, or maybe you don't do this, but I was thinking that it could actually be kind of a pan. If you were going to do something like that, how would you
Uh-huh.
indicate that?
Right, right. Sorry, I should have addressed that as well. Mm, it it can be. You, I guess you have to. Huh. If it's a pan, you want. I think it would have to be even wider. You're really going, almost going to a 360. Let's see if I could do something here. Then it might be a complete failure. Just to pick up details. Say we're panning around an environment, and there's shapes we're looking through here, right? So, um, what was I using? I was using, actually, I was using Jama's grid at one point. I'm still kind of messing around with this. This is something I downloaded from ArtStation way back. Gemma was doing these Jama Jurabayev, however you pronounce his name, really, really great artist. He was doing these 360 demos, and just want to see how I can incorporate this in here so I can. And I'm doing this in a very sloppy way, and I'm sorry, Jama, for ruining this right now. So new panoramic, I think. Yeah. So if it is a pen, it ought to feel. How do I zoom into this? Was it Alt? No. Shift V. Okay. So this is almost useless. I think you get the point. I think it needs to just be wider. So when if you do pan, if you do have a slow pan and everything is in a panoramic type of perspective, much like how the grid is set up, but you zoom in, you'd have to think this through in perspective first for it to work like a pan. Otherwise, if it's graphic, it will feel like a really narrow graphic shot, kind of like what we have here, because I'm trying to sort of reverse engineer what would be in the very foreground, what would be in the distance. So when the camera is panning by, you get the feeling like it's a natural pan. There would be parallax. This giant bulk of shape here would be out of focus maybe, and it would move across a little bit faster. And in the distance, this character would be in parallax as well. I guess if it's especially if it's a long lens.
Oh, thank you. That's very helpful.
So, but otherwise, it's looking good. I would just try to chisel it out. You saw how I did it. You go on top of it with the layer, you mask it out, you pull it out, you work on the silhouette. You can just move back and forth like that, no problem. These are looking. Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thanks for the work. These are really cool. This is kind of what I do when I don't have work, or not to say that you don't have work. I'm just saying this is kind of how I generate. I just start doing random images. It's great that you're doing this. It's everything that I would want to encourage. In fact, after teaching this class, I've only gotten better ideas on how to do my next, how to simplify this class. And really, these are awesome. This is a great frame, and it's a good choice to make it bigger. When you're doing these, ask yourself I guess when you're doing these studies, or if it's just from your head, look at how the color sits. Look at how you're applying these graphic elements, whether you're bashing or pulling from photo, or just see how it's graphically separating your image as well as your color palette, so it doesn't become too too rainbowy, I guess is the word. I don't know. I think a more limited palette like how you have here. This is a great progress. And I'm assuming you're using the 3D, which is awesome. I can only encourage that more. But to me, these are the most successful because the graphical sense, the composition, and how this is lit is very cinematic to me. It feels like a film frame. The others, I think, pull me out a bit, mainly because there's just too much light bleeding, and I've done that in the past as well. But um, I don't know. It's a difficult thing to sell. Shooting against the sun, shooting against the flashlight. It's a difficult thing to sort of try to convey. Hey, this is an interesting shot. Um, so I guess if you were to watch Christine, John Carpenter's Christine, he does a lot of shots against the car's headlights, and he silhouettes the characters. It's really ominous. Um, there's a lot of shots like that in No Country for Old Men as well. So, but this is great. I love the difference in how the space feels here when it's pitch, just nighttime and sunrise. It's this feels so much more vulnerable, and this feels like he's been going on a killing spree, and it's probably because it's against this gigantic, to me, this shape in the back. But otherwise, really, really beautiful work. What else? Sorry if I skipped your guys' posts here. Oh yes, this one as well, Marissa. I believe I think when you want to do focus, when you want to do depth, much like how we separated the character, we silhouetted them. You can do that with all these elements, just very quickly, not sloppily. Just take out all the elements that are going to be on separate layers. You got to think of it like a card. So let me just do this really quick here. So this is the world's shittiest camera ever made. But if there is a foreground element here, right? Let's say this is your card of trees. This is your glass plate card of people. This is your background of more trees or whatever, or mountains, and it continues like that. These are all, in terms of a workflow, these are all your separate it on different layers just for starters. So hopefully that wasn't too noisy for anybody. Sorry, guys. So this is foreground, middle ground, then you have more in the back, I guess. Really, if you're doing a forest, I guess put more time into seeing how trees would be separated. It's kind of a bit too even. Back on the very foreground layer here. So I know it's getting very cluttered, but I have in mind exactly what I want out of this. This is not exactly how you need to work, but if I was to separate this with transparencies, you can sort of see what I'm getting at, right? So sorry. When you have things separated in layers, right? Let's say this is our actual atmospheric layer, the very background. And mind you, this is, of course, created way after you've established your black and white compositions, your color composition. You can always go back into this and separate. So this is probably not going to feel right off the bat. Say that's your texture for the foreground trees. establish the value for the middle ground here. Kind of been messing around with executing very quick frames like this as practice. Because once something like this feels right, once it feels solid, you can definitely follow up very quickly and make it a more finalized piece. So just to move the value out. So when it comes to focus, when it's clean like this, you can very easily control it. I guess, and the more layers you have, you can very easily just set it up for yourself. Boom, boom, boom. So, or you can, you know, it depends how you want to design it. You can paint with a soft brush, but I think that's probably a little, it takes a lot more control. I mean, it's very possible, but you got to know exactly what you're indicating, because it's much like painting something in the distance. You're indicating something in the foreground when it's out of focus. So, and if this was a long lens, I guess this background would also be kind of blurry. So that's the idea. When it comes to some figuring out how these chains would work, I would take the time and separate it in this space. And same with the silhouette. Yeah, hope that made sense. Why is this opening? Let me see here. Sorry, guys. If anybody has work that I'm skipping, please let me know. I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to look over and see what is what. Okay. Well, I'm going to now awkwardly break into the demo I have set up here, which is kind of the same thing, I guess, of what I was just doing. Maybe that's why I was doing it. And that's what I did, is I set up a very quick feeling of this textural smear of what would be these type of woods. And I started to break down the silhouettes. Now, I know this is all on one layer, and I'm not intending for it to be a long lens, or this is very much a wide lens. And what a wide lens does most of the time is keep everything in focus. Everything is, you're experiencing the world all around you. So So yeah, in working with these silhouettes, I'm just kind of going back and forth and cleaning it up or making it feel more more believable, I guess, by doing that. Now, sorry if the mic is picking up sounds. I'm not sure how sensitive it is, but I guess it does. You could hear everything that's happening in the background. So I'm thinking about these shapes and how I would like to control the eye, or at least how I'd like it to have weight in composition, not really control the eye. I don't think I personally don't think that uh, that works as often. I mean, you can't really, unless it's something very obvious, you can't really force the viewer to look somewhere in the frame. They will explore it. They'll look at the frame different ways every time they look at it. Of course, I could be mindful of um, my silhouettes or the detail of these things. What's in front of what. I wanted to capture something very raw, very natural, something that maybe we could see in our everyday lives, but still keep it a little bit off out of the ordinary. Um, so, in one way in doing that is to have this sort of mundane, calming, familiar feeling of what a woodsy area would feel like or look like, and contrast it with color, I guess. So just to play around with that. want to get that look of when a little bit of that white shirt peeks under the jacket. There's something about that that's unnerving to me, or it adds to the sloppiness of the character, I guess. And when you're adding these type of everyday color clothing that you might encounter, it probably brings this guy to a more believable. It's like, oh, I've definitely seen this person on the road before. I'm thinking about this being a biker helmet. This is a horror film after all, right? So I want to give this a cool look, but a believable and frightening one, I guess. So anybody have any questions?
Actually, I have a brief one.
Yeah.
You talked about this being more of a wide lens, so everything's in focus. If
Mm-hmm.
it was not in focus, how would you treat the blur out of the foreground area? What would your approach for that be?
It wouldn't. I'm sorry. Can you say the last part again? If it wasn't in focus, how would I blur out the foreground?
Yeah, so the previous demo that you gave with this approach, there were more trees up close,
Right.
so they kind of blurred out. What if
Right.
you could see the ground level with those trees? How would you handle the fall off of that blur?
It's as simple. I'm just using the tool, of course, but it's what works well is tilt shift, and you're paying attention to where the edges start to change, or where it isn't blurred. So you kind of line it up with where it would start. And this top part you can move away since it's going in the distance, right? Or you can bring it back. Well, whatever. It's not working now. So that's one way is really controlling it. The there's other ways of just sorry, I guess there's other ways of, if you're going to work with a soft brush, right? And then just bring it, much like how you're indicating, you're bringing it closer. So
Do you find that the specularity behaves difference in those areas versus higher detail?
Yeah, but you want to control that. You want to put that in if it has a purpose, because it's again, it's about composition. If you want to capture the believability of how a lens is distorting light for the sake of making it look like a believable shot, then you're doing one thing. But if you're trying to figure out your composition and that's getting in your way, um, it could become cluttering. It could just become like a gimmick.
Great, that's helpful. Thank you.
That makes sense. Cool. Trying to think what type of color the helmet could be. So I'm not really didn't didn't think that far, I guess. I'm also kind of distracted by what I can do with these silhouettes here. All right, guys, let me just take a small break here, and I'll be right back. Just take a 5.
Okay, see you in a minute. 20 minutes.
Okay. I'm back. Let's do this. I'm chuckling because I'm just kind of thinking through these videos that are recorded. I don't know what's happening with them afterwards. Hopefully it's just for this class. But it's hilarious because a lot of my banter recently, I feel like a lot of my distraction is because of the external noises that happen. And I'm like constantly trying to fight that in my head. All right, let me get this to where I want it to be by looking up. Oh yeah, before I jump into that, I'm just going to establish. Is everybody back? Sorry. Is everybody, is it still recording or what?
Yeah.
It is.
We're
Okay, cool. Sorry. Okay. I just wanted to make the colors on these guys work as well. To me, what's going to help this piece out, much like that other demo that we did a long time ago, which again had trees and snow. I think what's going to work for this is actually the expressions on the faces. And for now, I'm just getting the color down, but I think it could also be you know what? I lost my train of thought. Fuck. So I want to get this to feel right. I'm just putting down anything. Again, I'm staying sort of in the same world, but I think this, because this shirt is starting to feel cool, maybe I'm bouncing off of this. It's like the typical white shirt you'd find. It's so weird to analyze it like that, but kind of trying to place yourself in this world, and this world is not that different from the one we live in. Place yourself in this reality. It's not even a matter of world. It's not that like this is a sci-fi. It's a slasher, right? And I want to make this feel like something you could possibly see in an everyday scenario, like on the interwebs. I don't want to make it look like a shitty video, but I want to make it feel raw. At the same time, bring the values and colors to a cinematic quality. I think the composition also has a major role in bringing it to a cinematic quality. So I am being mindful of the spacing and trying to not become too repetitive with the evenness of the more major, heavier shapes, like this space here. this to this, right? This, this, things that divide, things that are pretty much kind of breaking up this area. This to this, kind of. This evenness, it matters, I think. So this shape, this helmet here, don't do that. When you're figuring shit out, I think I was just starting to get sort of carried away. So that's a great thing that I did for you guys to show you what to fucking not do. Start doing the highlights. Oh, there's a reflection in here. No, do that at the very end. Figure out your graphic elements, but when it comes to bringing that extra small detail, do that when everything else is solid. Or really, it'll end up being a moment where you can just say to yourself, well, am I really going to paint this out, or I can sort of bring in photos. I actually wanted to add a dirt bike in here, and trying to figure out how I can do that, but it might take a bit. Right? Something like, God, I fucking forgot how dirt bikes look like. This is a job for a reference, man. Oh God, punch me in the face every time I make a stupid joke. So it's something like this. I'm thinking. Maybe the overall if the exhaust pipes are back here, something I don't know. Maybe I won't. It's a lot of extra work that, but a quick way to maybe do it is to find an image of a dirt bike and plop it in. Which is, I know that sounds cheap, but if it helps to tell the story, if it helps to enhance it, it's good. No one, by the way, is asking, no one should ever be demanding. It's like, why isn't this painted? Why isn't any of this? As long as I think your overall process behind this is not, you're not stealing this. It might be inspired, or you might be mixing like 4 to 5 different films in your head to create this image. For me, it's the Zodiac, Friday the 13th, and the Blair Witch Project, probably some other German films that some of you might never heard of, like Michael Haneke's Time of the Wolf. Watch that movie if you guys ever have the opportunity to do so. Time of the Wolf. And Funny Games. I think I already mentioned those before anyway. So I guess I'm breaking off into that feeling of plagiarism, maybe. I never talked about it. I am nobody to talk about it, but as a teacher, I should be. I feel like I'm responsible to say this. When you work from photos and it's other people's work, not your own photography, make sure you sample it so well that nobody could tell that you took it from somewhere else. That's kind of a thing that comes from music. When Daft Punk samples their bits, you can't tell where they take it from. It's so scrambled, it's so well harmonized and put together. Most of the time, you can't tell. Sometimes, I mean, nowadays they probably could just take shit, and it's probably because they own it in one way or another. But when a musician of that genre starts to produce music, and he's not using stuff he has copyright, blah, the legalities, blah, 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 whatever the fuck it's called. If he doesn't have those things under his belt, he has to really hide what he has used. Same with art, I think, is with these type of paintings. If I'm going to use a photo, like the way I pull sometimes photos from Google for these demos, mind you, I do put them online and whatnot, but I'm very conscious of the fact that the way I apply the background or the way I apply this face, which I will be applying faces in here, ends up being for the sole purpose of emotion, mood. I don't want to stick to that likeness. I don't want to resemble anything that people might go back to and be like, he just painted over this guy's work, or this shot from this movie, or he just painted over a video game frame or whatever. But, you know, actually, I've done the video game frame thing before. I also don't recommend that because it's hard, it's difficult to stage something. It's a great way. Working in the Unreal Engine is also really nice. I've only started to do that recently. I still like just to paint. So anyway, just so you guys know, it's not. This isn't something big deal. I'm not too on to anyone. It's just figured. I had a conversation at work about this stuff with one of my coworkers, and we were talking like, do you really think it's okay to photo bash? Yeah, all that stuff. I personally cannot stand that. Yes, of course it's okay. You're doing your job. You'll do it whichever way possible to get the best result. If photo bashing helps, fine. I guess the more important thing is to keep in mind the fundamentals behind photo bashing. If you're gonna place a car in there, be it 3D or photo or whatever, or a bike or a table with guns, you want to make sure it's sitting in perspective. You want to make sure you're acknowledging how it'll be lit, how it's integrated into the rest of the world you've already set up. So, and you shouldn't have to think around the photo. You should think around your sketch and composition and how you can apply the photos. So the more fearless you are with photos, the more abstract you use them, I think it's better, because you're in a sense using a textural quality of a photo more than the photo itself. And to me, that's a more interesting way to bash. Um, so anyway, I kind of trailed off, but I'm sure every one of you in here has had that conversation with someone in the past. I love, again, I'm going to say I love using Mixer Brush. And these are my settings for Mixer Brush. Wet is at 0, load 100, flow 100, and I don't even know what the hell this is. It's a new thing. And the reason behind that is when you sample a color, be it from this thing here or the actual image itself, it's this beautiful, flat, opaque. And you can always erase into that afterwards. To soften its opaqueness, to finish that sentence. That, oh my god, I fucking can't believe I just did that. Wow, sorry guys, I suck when I'm teaching and trying to talk, and it's difficult. I can never get past that. I gotta go quiet when I paint. My brain just doesn't function like that. I don't know how some of my mentors do it. A lot of practice. I guess you get used to it. So I don't know why I'm not using the quick mask thing here, the locking of the layer deal. Anyway, I'm already anticipating putting in the faces here that I want. And I want this character to be screaming. Now, it's a particular type of look on his face that I'm looking for. So I have in mind already the reference that I will be looking at, and that is UFC fights, or anything really. Fuck, I could just put in Conor McGregor's face in here. But I want that tearful, that the face of that tearful victory scream is the same type of face that could possibly work for fear or pleading. It could be disturbing to see. I'm not doing it for the disturbing sake, but I want to be building this anticipation or this honest moment, because we are sort of spectators. We're viewing this, and it's isolated, broad daylight scenario. I want to make it to the point where you can almost hear this in your mind when you look at the painting. So, but right now, actually, I might just by the way, I have grouped this together on purpose. I am putting this head between these two trees in the background. It's a bizarre way to sort of trap this character. So I'm just trying to see if that'll work. And I want it to be like that. It's not so much a tangent, but this down here, I guess I had in mind for a duffel bag of some sort. I know I'm being very specific with these details, and I'm not even painting, I'm erasing right now, actually. Oops. Again, it's a graphic approach. A detail like this, if I am adding a duffel bag in here, it would be important to get the duffel bag right. It's something so boring to figure out probably, but it is, if it adds character to, if it adds to the mood. This is just as much of a character as these people. So maybe this killer is very fashionable. I don't think this jacket will look good with my red duffel bag. I need a blue duffel bag. Goes on Amazon, orders a blue duffel bag. Good, I'm ready to kill. Only thing is, his dirt bike is pink. Painting opaquely really allows me to get a good sense for the graphic shapes. I'm not worried about transparencies. I'm just getting I can indicate details very well because I'm not fussing around with anything. I'm not fucking around with edges. Oh, and on that note, with edges, when you're working sharp, you can always soften later. But in cinema, in photos, unless you're doing a long lens or something that's blurred or out of focus, most edges are really always sharp and clean. What makes a soft edge? This is interesting. What makes a soft edge? Let's pretend this is just another painting right here, really quick. So let's say this is an object. The edges are all sharp, right? I mean, in terms of the tool, I didn't have to do a soft brush. Again, this is excluding the factor of out of focus looking out of the bokeh. So when you soften an edge, you bring it closer to its value. You bring this shape and this shape closer. This becomes, I think, naturally softer. There's more contrast. It naturally remains its sharpness. I hope that makes sense. So a lot of the times when I'm building up a keyframe, I like to work like this. It's more naturalistic. It's more honest depiction, in my opinion, of how things look like in photography. I mean, I guess you can nitpick and go inside like, no, there's a soft blur here, but there, I mean, that's really very rare and probably because of something, because of maybe water hitting the surface, or, but it's still, everything is pretty crisp. When you start to abstract that, and you start to work with more painterly brushes, and that is when I guess the image ends up looking more painterly, which is awesome. There's no problem with that. I'm just sharing this thought of how I like to think about my edges nowadays, even though a lot of the times I go through a more painterly route. So did that make sense for everybody?
I guess so. Jonathan's asking though, but when do you soften edges with the blur tool then?
In a keyframe scenario like this, with the blur tool, you do it. In my preference, you do it when you're blurring things out of focus, when you're describing depth, or when you're describing maybe the very subtle effect of what the edges of a lens does, like that that vignetting that happens in shots. That's the lens blurring. That's the lens bending the light. But now lenses have become even better and better. The digital ages come so far that doesn't happen at all, pretty much. But old lenses, they do that. You can blur still. You can soften an edge, like how I just did this demo with the shape within the shape, to sort of push that idea and guide the eye through. You can do that. You blur edges to sort of to make the eye flow through easier, so it doesn't come to these hard stops. But you know what? That's I think that's great, but you can also control it through value. You can also control it to being more accurate with how close and how well you're grouping your values. If you guys are tired of your pieces right now and you want to try something else, please do. Like for homework, the new thing I want to try starting. Sure, maybe I'll keep this for my next class, so I'm not going to say what I was about to say. But if you guys want to start doing frames, different frames, experimenting with the same genre, different compositions, you can. If you guys are tired of seeing what you're working on currently, because it could also inspire you to do better work. I mean, if I was working on the same thing for weeks, I would honestly want to move on. That's how it is with work too. Like, oh, how long are we staying on this? This is boring. I got it. I got it. You know, I got his teachings. Yes, okay. Can we move forward with? Can we do something else? So I really didn't. You know, I wasn't anticipating on you guys to have to create multiple frames. I didn't have an idea. I just wanted to stay within this genre and explore the possibilities, because it's a lot. If I was to give you guys different genres to bounce from, that could be a clusterfuck. Mainly because you're changing. That's not how we work either. I mean, it's not recommended for you to be working on Star Wars. I'm not working on Star Wars, but to be working on Star Wars and then you're working on La La Land at the same time, it's gonna mess with you, I think. Um, so I'm sorry. Here I'm getting sidetracked again. I just wanted to add some sort of noise detail, breaking up what could be inside. It's so the lighting in this is very flat, I think. So it's not. I don't want to light it in a dramatic way. I want to keep it soft because it'll only work for the juxtaposition of what's happening. So just indicating that so slightly. Doesn't look like much right now, but So I'm working from back to front, getting the. Now I'm going to be indicating the trees, the values of these trees. So I'm placing this duffel bag. I kind of want it to have this type of read, but then I'm also doing something like this, right? So I am kind of I want it to get this solid triangular composition going, um, for no reason at all but weight. It adds there's something more powerful about that, more interesting to look at. Here goes nothing. Just okay. That's kind of what I had in mind. Man, and it's really the mouth, the shape of the mouth. Sorry, Connor. Jesus Christ. I don't know Connor. I don't know why I'm talking about him with his first name like I know him. Mr. Conor McGregor. So that's the idea. Really. It's to use the photo also as foundation, much like how we did in the last demo. Kind of placing it. And the likeness starts to get lost because the shape was so rudimentary. The silhouette, it's no longer Conor McGregor. Kind of cool how that works. Kind of looks like a guy that's missing his teeth due to the pixelation. I'm actually working fucking low. What the hell? Should be 2000. Not that that's any higher. But yeah. These are all the areas that really turn more red. Vascular areas, they turn more red when you're exerting a lot of stress. And so it's kind of what I'm laying in so it reads. And then I'll tone it down. Again, it's just indication. Group it into that. I think the silhouette could be adjusted here too. There's something about having the neck be so there's something about the extension, this type of pull, the force, and the hands being behind the back like that. And there's something about this that even I want to keep. It's very intense. The body language is sort of, I kind of want to reflect his emotion in the body language, like whatever he's trying to do. There's also another key factor here that I didn't lay in yet, but I wanted to maybe show the knife. Anyway. If a person's crying, the tear duct areas and I guess the edges of the corner of the mouth right underneath the nose, those areas become a lot more reflective. And there will be the only area really that's going to have that type of specularity, those type of highlights, if he's sweating as well. So just to be able to indicate that, one way I could do that is by popping the color. Highlight color. I wonder if I can, if I add glasses, it'll make this guy feel. Nah. Sorry about. I just wanted to see what that would do to the character. I think that's good enough, though. I want to sort of. I want to. Another good reference, source of reference, is to look up poker losses. There's some great faces. That's a cool face for this guy. I wanted him to be calm. I wanted him to have already accepted his, not calm, but you know, accepted his fate. You're asking me how the hell, how am I choosing this? Um, I have seen it in movies. I've also uh, seen things I probably shouldn't have seen in the first place. So it's not unhealthy things to the mind that stick forever. So I am. It is kind of that is kind of what I'm feeding off of subconsciously. Probably looks like shit. Any questions? I am very silent at this moment. Oh no, I didn't want to fucking merge everything. Just these.
Yeah, it's a pretty quiet class this week. I guess everyone's just watching, listening to your banter. Are you going to be putting a motorcycle in there, a dirt bike?
Yeah, I could try it, but um, yeah, I will. I think that'd be useful for people to see how that works.
Oh, and for next week,
Oh yeah, there's Thanksgiving, guys.
yeah.
So what do we do with that?
Well, we can skip next Saturday and continue classes as usual the following Saturday,
Okay,
if that's what you want to do.
that sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I have family plans and stuff, so yeah, I was going to ask. Cool.
All right. I'll post it on the Artist Awake, but announce officially that there's no class next week. I think it's, what is it, the 26th, is it? 25th.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess December 2nd is going to be the next class after today's class. Marie.
Okay. Oh wait, what? December 2nd is going to be the what class?
Then, well, we're skipping next week for Thanksgiving, and
Right. Oh, I see.
yeah.
Right.
Is it the last class, actually? I don't have my notes with me. Jonathan's saying it's the last class.
On December 2nd?
Yes.
Sounds about right. I was sort of calculating that the other day. I don't know off the top of my head right now, though.
Okay.
We're done. This is it. Dirt bike in the middle of the picture, and good luck, guys. Just kidding. So this is how I'm gonna use a dirt bike. Actually, no. I mean, this is probably good for reference, but you know what? Actually, I'm gonna utilize this. I like it. I like this dirt bike. I'm just gonna alter it a lot, but I'm just gonna blatantly steal this by silhouetting it. You know what? Before I do this, because it's gonna take me some time, I wanted to get. Did I even spell that right? No, I didn't. Thank you, guys. Thanks for laughing at me. Sorry. This is kind of what I'm going for. Yeah. Or this. Maybe this. Feels weird, this helmet shape, but oh well. What's done is done. Actually, I think the blade would probably be darker. Oops. So I'm just gonna very roughly take this. Yeah, of course, if you have a 3D asset of this, it definitely would be even faster and more helpful. Just plop it in here. You can import OBJs into Photoshop and don't have to worry about doing any of this. It's faster and whatnot. But I think this is already fast enough. I mean, unless they really want you to be faster than what you're already doing. I'd suggest looking into importing 3D assets, which I still kind of don't do consistently enough to share any knowledge on that. Nope. What the fuck? What the fuck? All right, never mind. I'm just going to. How does it create the disable layer mask? No. Merge layers. There you go. Again, I don't think compositionally, I really had this thought out. It's probably a bit too cluttered, and now the triangularity is broken. However, I think if maybe I show it here, what is it? What does the handle thing look like? I don't even know if this is what I want. No. Would the dirt bike? Anybody here do dirt biking? What is this area called? I guess this is actually a good enough reference. I don't know. So that in mind, I could probably just lay that in. And overlap. But again, it'd probably be higher. I think it's too much. I wanted a dirt bike, but I don't think it's necessary.
I wanted a dirt bike when I was a kid.
It just sounded so weird. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not gonna add a dirt bike. I'm just trying to visualize how that could work. I was thinking of leaning in, but then you have like you have if I'm leaning it against this, you have too much. You have too much here outweighing what's happening here. So it's the only reason why I wasn't placing it as well. You already have these thick shapes here of trees. I'd have to rethink the entire layout. Sorry guys, didn't mean to get your hopes up, but here's what a dirt bike looks like. Okay, so I'm sorry. That sounded like a very dickish thing to do. I'm gonna maybe try and see if I can get this to a place beyond the pines. God, I was wondering why it's not opaque. Just toning it all down a little evenly. Let's save this. Now I'm going to flatten it. I want to see how I can take it value range. That looks kind of cool. The graphic quality of this. If I was to go to the luminance and take down the blue, what the fuck? Yeah, there you go. think I like keeping it slightly a little desaturated. There's there's something about film frames where it's especially I'm influenced by a lot of Fincher's work, uh, Darius Ganji's cinematography. Not all of it is like that, but I just want to get it to that off-white harmonized milky quality that it's just so very subtle. I can't spell, I guess. I'm asking myself, would this painting be, would this moment be different if I'm showing the killing or showing the moment after the killing? What would how would it feel as a painting, as a frame, as a work of art? Um, if I am going super graphic and really I'm going to show it all. Let's say I need to be so honest, so brutally honest with how I'm going to depict the violence, whether it's after the killing or in the midst, because otherwise it'll it won't work. It will look like a joke. It'll feel like it won't feel real. It won't feel believable if you're not digging deep and asking yourself, really, how should we see it? Should we obscure a dead body? Why would we? If he's getting stabbed, how do we show the stabbing? It's going to be a completely different angle. Or if he's on the ground and he's stabbing him in the back, is the head going to be here and the violence is obscured by the tree and the legs? Like, what's that going to do for us? Are we going to, how do you experience the helplessness? Yeah. How do you make it feel like a horror film, like a real intense moment? I could understand that maybe this seems very sadistic to think like this, but it's a great exercise for the mind, because this could be applied outside of horror as well. It doesn't have to be something violent or depressing. It could be something action packed. It could be something uh, dramatic, heartwarming, like a romantic film, maybe. I don't know, fantasy film. But it's just staging. It's how we are building up to it. I think this frame is it's all right. The way I've set it up, it could be better, but I do like the overall angle. I am thinking probably going to show his knees. Like he's in shorts. That's a fucking straight branch. Wow. Anyway, I think I could just completely derail this. if I up the contrast, it's not that it makes anything more believable. Right? It's just it brings the values closer together. All the darks, all the graphic shapes, they go back to how the original sort of lay-in was, and it accentuates even the smallest shapes, like the dark of the eyes and the mouth. But to tone that down, I'll bring the exposure down, which takes the mid-tones down a bit. Again, this is kind of experimental. I'm not controlling it by the book or anything, or knowing exactly what I'm doing. I'm using it simply as sliders. The fact that it says exposure, contrast, highlights, that's really not what I'm using it for. It's kind of just to get the light and the values to a place where I like it. I mean, that could be cool. Something like this. Oh, wow. I think, did my computer just fucking crash?
Your audio got kind of buggy just for a bit. Hopefully not.
Do you still see the cursor moving?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's just Photoshop being Photoshop. Give me some time. Oh, God. I don't know how to escape this, but to just let it be. Any questions, anybody?
It seems pretty quiet. Oh, somebody's opened a mic.
Okay.
Are you trying to ask a question, Marissa? If you are, we can't hear you.
Oh, is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, there's actually a mute button on my mic too. I was curious about how you approach doing more moonlit scenes, if there are any things you take into consideration when you do that to make sure it's both readable and the value structure is high enough.
Moonlit scenes are, well, I'd have to show one. It depends. You can look at reference of stuff that's been very brightly lit by like a full moon. It's really about simplifying your palette at that point, and grouping a lot of values together, a lot of darks. It definitely won't be like a daytime scenario. I think moonlit scenes tend to also be more graphic, kind of like what this is now, right here. This value structure could very easily be thinking this could be a moonlit scene. It's very difficult to say, and you could also silhouette them against a moonlit or kind of like a about to be a nighttime sky. I mean that's I guess that's something Also, you can be saying that, yeah, it's nighttime. Do you have to show a moon? Or if you're actually trying to get a moonlit shot, I think there is just a lot more. It's a lot more subtle. It's the same type of light source, I guess. You'd be getting um, almost like the sun. No, but not quite. But it's just it's a lot more softer, and it's a lot more desaturated, I guess. Uh, it's hard to talk about this, and I think this definitely crashed. Sorry.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Never mind. So I forgot where I was on this. I think I upped the contrast. I want to design the light pattern of this ground here. I like this, but I kind of want to break this up a bit. So I'm just going to be painting into it. I never like to go pure black. So this is where I come here at the very final stages and I tone it down ever so slightly. Uh, Mainly because to me there's always atmosphere, and when there's always atmosphere, it's never going to be a pure color. I like to, again, just adding a very quick, very, very subtle. I almost don't want it to be noticeable, just to break up the flatness of, and also the two. This is why I like to work on a much higher res than 2000, but I up the blur by 1 or 2 pixels at most, never more than that, unless I'm playing with depth again. And I it it sort of unifies the edges, not to be too sharp and you know undecisive whether it's jagged or not. It's just a really quick pass. I mean, after this, I go back in and continue painting. Really, I think it's kind of, maybe it's too soft. I'd probably keep it on 1. Anyway, that is all, I guess, for this demo. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I hope I didn't miss anybody's homework. Marissa, oh, Snapperoonie. I didn't see this. That's cool. Very cool. Let me just, oh, cool. Nice. It's working well. Careful on the amount of noise and texture you end up putting, but I think, honestly, I think this is enough. Maybe try exploring a different shot. This is great. This is also really nice. Cool. Excellent work on this. It's nice. All right, guys. That is all.
Okay, thanks, Alex. And so we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone celebrating that. And
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you guys have a good one.